Hi, good morning, everybody. So this is officially the start of the webinar for Making Work Work, Escaping Benefits, etc., etc. We do have quite a few attendees in the room today who are here without cameras and microphones so that we can record the webinar and share it with you, the general public, to help you in your own time. So the reason, I think I need to give you a little bit of background information. The reason that I do what I do is because I am a single mum with a 10-year-old dependent and I am not on benefits, but I have been, and it was hell. I worked for 20 years solid. I consider myself to be a skilled professional, very willing and incentivized to work, and I never took a day off work between age 16 and 36. When I had my daughter as a single mum, age 36, I expected that to stay exactly the same, albeit with a few minor tweaks around childcare. I had no idea how difficult it would be to navigate the world of work once I was a primary carer and had a dependent. So for the first time in my life, I needed to apply for benefits. My house was repossessed because of my decreased income, and my credit score was ruined. And I basically went through sheer hell for quite a few years trying to make the world of work work. I'd also set up a product which I brought to market in adversity, the Keybed pregnancy cushion, and again faced barriers in the enterprise side of things with access to finance, marketing budget for PR to raise awareness of my business, all the time still trying to apply for work in sync with childcare and completing a law degree because I wanted to make sure I was as skilled as possible to help myself long term and my daughter. Even after graduating in law, I still face the same barriers to work in terms of every solicitor I applied to wouldn't enable me to work a 30-hour week instead of a 37-hour week to enable me to leave in time to pick up my daughter from childcare, and childcare providers would not enable me to pick my daughter up later. Obviously, you cannot physically be in two places at once, and you can't leave your child on the street if childcare closes at 5. So you have to make work around your dependents, and we need to reproduce. That's our primary for women. If anybody in this world wants to have a shopkeeper or a nurse when they're 90, the only way to make that happen is for us women to keep reproducing. So we need to do it, but we do pay the price. We pay a very heavy price. We pay the financial poverty penalty, and mental health deteriorates, credit scores are ruined, pensions are ruined, and it's not great. We're not really looked after the way we should be when we're just trying to keep the world moving. So on that note, there has been a lot of talk. I do follow politics quite heavily, and I have haunted the prime ministers. I've met personally Rishi Sunak back in August. I spoke to him about all of the issues surrounding single mums and parents in general, and dads, obviously. We do lots of signposting in the barriers to work, finance and homes. And they promise that they are looking into this, but as far as I'm concerned, when there is a clear economic benefit to removing these barriers, they're really dragging their feet. Meanwhile, the women who are suffering on the ground are in a constant state of stress and panic. And how are we going to manage? And are my benefits going to be cut next month? Am I going to be sanctioned? When that notification pops in on your email to say you need to read a message in Universal Credit, your whole world falls from underneath your feet because you're thinking, it's a petrifying, horrible time. And then meanwhile, when there's bad press and people are saying that you need to upskill or you need incentivizing to work, we all know that's not the real issue. We are incentivized, we are skilled. We just have very physical, simple barriers that need to be overcome, and they could very easily be overcome with the right help from those people who can help us there. So we're constantly trying to raise awareness of that. Whilst they are dragging their feet, because I have comprehensive experience as a single mum, both out of benefits and in benefits, and in employment and in self-employment, I'm doing the best I can to share with you everything I learned over the last decade to hopefully help you suffer less and essentially get out of hardship sooner. So this is what we're going to do. I'm just going to talk you through everything I'm going to do an overview, a very brief overview of each section of this. Specialist flexible working agencies, self-employment traps to avoid, setting up and freelancing a small business, marketing and PR, wellbeing and mindset is crucial. The reality of being your own boss and autonomous working, consider university, minimum income floor, benefits and how to break free, and barriers to homes and finance and where to find support. So I'm going to talk through that quite quickly because we are in limited time. I'm also currently just releasing a book. I'm just finishing it. It'll be released in a couple of weeks, which is available, I think, on the same link as this, which is going to explain all of this in greater detail so that you can read at your own leisure. Mainly, I'm going to be putting the book in front of DWP departments and politicians because I think that they really need to read and understand where help is needed. So we will stop for a break at 10:15 or 10:20 when I can stop myself talking, a coffee break. The recording will still be in progress, but I will just turn the camera and mic off for 10 minutes, and then we will come back at 10:30, talk for another half an hour, and then I will stop talking so that we can, and stop recording so that you can all come in with your cameras and mics, discuss what's been said and ask any questions, or just get some support if you want some support and have a chat. So here we go. Let's start with, I don't know if the attendees today or the people watching after today are looking for work or are looking to start up in self-employment. So I'm going to try and briefly cover each area. If you're looking for work, sadly, and I don't want to sound like I'm really knocking them, but sadly they just aren't well informed enough in the work coaches who are employed to work for the DWP. They often don't realise what is out there. So whilst they are there to coach you to work, it's almost like asking somebody to coach rugby who has never played rugby. You know, you need to understand what it is you're coaching. So flexible working agencies, this is the best start. This is the best thing to find. And it took me years. And again, this is why today should help you. If somebody had given me a booklet in week 1 of being a single parent, I think I probably would have been on benefits for 7 weeks instead of several years. So the flexible working agencies, there are specialist flexible working agencies out there. We're all normally signposted to the likes of Indeed and the really large sort of main job sites. And it's a real minefield to try and figure out which jobs offer flexible working or part-time working. But these specialist flexible working agencies are brilliant because they are tailor-made for primary carers, people with disabilities, single parents, people who need normally asynchronous working, which basically means it's about doing the job and not necessarily being present on site to do that job within certain hours. Or the jobs will require you to be on site for 20 hours a week. Some of them will be completely working from home. Some of them will be on site 30 hours a week. And again, there's normally something to fit everybody in there. But it's a competitive market. There are thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of us who are all trying to make work around school hours or childcare hours. 38 weeks per year, because of course we've got school closures for 13, 14 weeks per year, and annual leave of 4 weeks per year. So it's just not syncing up like it should. So specialist flexible working agencies that I would personally recommend. Google is good at it, but I can just throw a few out there for you. You've got 10 to 2, that's 10, the word 10, the number 2, and the word 2. You've got 9, the number 9, the word 2, the number 3, 9 to 3. You've got Capability Jane. You've got That Works For Me, yellow logo, Jess. We're connected on LinkedIn. Happy to connect with any of you on LinkedIn if you want me to signpost you personally to these agencies. Flexible Working People, Katie. She has a Facebook page. She often shares all of the flexible working roles, or many of the flexible working roles that are also offered by these other specialist flexible working agencies. They do pay a fee, a nominal fee, but Flexible Working People, Katie, is a really good one as well. TIMEWISE, also another very good one. TIMEWISE offer reports and insights into why flexible working works for the economy as well as for the person looking for flexible working. And again, they share lots of opportunities. Investing in women as well is another one who set up in the last few years. So those ones, 10 to 2, 9 to 3, Capability Jane, Flexible Working People, TIMEWISE, Investing in Women, and there are more as well. All of these links, I will be in my book, including them in the book, so that there are the websites to each of these flexible working agencies. Also, I'll put the links on the Single Mums Business Network website, because this is about the bigger picture. It's about helping everybody, and it's important that if you don't have the funds to buy a book, that you can still access that information in another area. I'm not interested in creating barriers to anybody. And whilst I sell stuff, I will also make sure that stuff is available for free. So whilst we're looking for specialist flexible work in school hours, the experience I had in the first 2 years of being a single parent was I kind of turned to Facebook, I think, which was probably the only main platform then. We moved quite quickly with technology, looking for work in school hours. And I was met with 3 suggestions over and over and over again. Work as a TA, work as a cook or a cleaner or something else. That's great. They're all important jobs. They all need doing. But the problem is what you're almost being told, not only by social media, but also when you're actually in the office, in the job centre, you're almost being told to go and do the lower paid jobs, and potentially could be under your skill set, depending on what your skill set is. And then what you're doing then is you're trapped into a long-term dependency on benefits. What we're fighting for is we're fighting to still maintain the salary and the skills that we achieved pre-parenting, so that actually we don't need benefits at all, because we should be able to earn a full-time wage, and we should be able to, especially with modern technology, and COVID has really helped to showcase that there is no reason why we can't earn a full-time living and be financially independent, with that slight flexibility to either do the school run or the childcare pickup, or work from home during holidays when there isn't any available childcare. So whilst you're signposted, and it is fine to do that, let me tell you this now, I don't want to give the impression that that's not okay, because actually it is extremely hard, and it is extremely stressful trying to be financially independent. This is not your fault. This is the way, this is the man-made system in the UK, and it is man-made, and it is exclusive, well, not exclusive to the UK, but it doesn't need to be this way, but it is this way, and it's made this way because of because it's the rules that we've put in place, or our elders have put in place, or our fathers have put in place. When you have a child of a certain age, all of this information, again, it's on the government website. I try to signpost to it as well, and all of this will be covered fully comprehensively. Depending on the age of your child will be depending on how many hours you're told you have to work. So it's about 16 hours if your child is sort of preschool, 25 hours primary, roughly. There are actually age cut-offs for that. And 35 hours then in secondary, thereabouts, at minimum wage. So whilst it's really good that the government have raised the minimum wage now, from April it's increasing further, what that also means is that you need to earn more under the minimum. When they say that you need to achieve the minimum income floor, you need to achieve the minimum income floor at the minimum wage for your age group, and for those hours that you are told that you have to work, depending on the age of your child. However, what I will say, and to be honest with you, I think I probably would have done this in the beginning if I'd realised, if you can get a really steady job, especially if it's a flexible job that works with you around the school holidays, if you can get that job that lets you work the 16 hours or the 25 hours or the 35 hours, and then have that stable income then topped up by universal credit. And again, I've blogged about making peace with benefits and how much tax you pay directly and indirectly over your lifetime. And there are people who claim tax for having dangerous holidays, skiing holidays, whitewater rafting. There are so many people that cost the NHS an awful lot of money, and their treatment will cost a lot more than you need over a period of several years to keep reproducing as a parent. So it's okay if you do that part-time work and you have that topped up with benefits. The problem is you're constantly hanging by a thread. It is unsafe in terms of your mental health, because you know that you're always threatened with sanctions. You know that I was pulled into the DWP office probably about 8 years ago or 9 years ago now, I think. And I was so humiliated because I borrowed £20 off of my mum and I hadn't declared it. I paid it back, but I hadn't declared it, and I was threatened with sanctions, and I just felt like it was unsafe income. And I felt like that anything I did slightly wrong, then that could be pulled from me. And we all know how petrifying it is. We all know how you need every single penny. And if they're telling you all of a sudden that you might not have that money that you rely on for food or electricity or just to get by, to put fuel in the car, to go to work, all of those things, it's a petrifying period of your life to be in. And you're not treated with dignity and respect at all. You are treated very much as a liability. And whereas in law, it's innocent till proven guilty, in benefits, it's almost guilty till proven innocent. And that's just a really horrible state to be in. And that's why I talk about breaking free from benefits and getting out of benefits jail, because it's really nice when you no longer have to get those notifications, and when you no longer have the Department of Work and Pensions able to have that control to pull the wall from underneath your feet, and send you into fight or flight mode and seriously risk your mental health and your well-being. So that's why I try and encourage people through enterprise or through flexible working to be completely financially autonomous and independent, so that they can just basically draw a line under that period of life where you are relying on benefits to top up your income. It's awful. I know it's awful. I've lived it, and that's exactly why I do what I do. So whilst you're doing this, whilst you're trying really hard to look for flexible work, or whilst you're potentially looking on social media for what work can I do in school hours, you also have, and I used to be very subtle about this, I'm not subtle about it anymore because I've seen too much suffering to sort of wrap it up in roses. You will be consistently targeted by unethical companies who have created an entire workforce of women. Single mums are brilliant targets to work for free. They do extremely well at the top. They have no corporate responsibility whatsoever because they tell you it's your own business. It's very interesting how you can have your own business, but you cannot make any business decisions. You cannot decide on how to market, rebrand, where to sell, etc., etc. So you will have lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of companies. Phone's ringing, sorry, that's bad. You'll have lots and lots of companies who will tell you to go and work for them for free, but you won't be working for them for free. You will have your own business. The problem I have with these companies is I have seen 100% of the time over the last decade, I've been networking with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people, and I've had people come through my own network, and I've networked with other networks with these people who are telling you there's this great opportunity to join their team and work from home and earn a full-time living working from home. It's extremely difficult to achieve, and there are lots of really good resources out there that do share the actual statistics of people who succeed a full-time income for working full-time. I think the average income is around £200 per month or something for working 40, 50, 60 hours per week. That's actually achievable. But then you have, of course, the upline. It's a very saturated market. So you've got the people at the top. Of course, they're doing extremely well because they've got an entire workforce of thousands of people. They don't have to pay a wage. They don't have to pay you sick pay. They don't have to pay you holiday pay. They don't have to pay you minimum wage. They don't have to pay maternity pay. They don't have to pay anything. And if you grieve, you've got no stability to grieve. You can't have any time off. Okay, so there's no corporate responsibility. As far as I'm concerned, it's modern day slavery, and I don't know how they get away with it. I do know how they get away with it. They get away with it because they tell you it's your own business. If you spend 1 year minimum income floor window working extremely hard and trying to turn all your friends and family into customers or into people who work in your team, even though it's their own business, they're still in a team, you're going to waste the 1 year of minimum income floor. Because the job centre don't say, oh, okay, you can try something else. You've got to wait a whole 5 years then before you can set up a new business, a new idea, and have that 1 year window to build your own business. If you're going to spend 30 hours a week or 40 hours or 50 hours or 60 hours a week behind your computer saying, this is me, this is what I do, please make sure it's for your business, for your product or your service that you benefit the profits from. Okay, that's in your name and you can make all the decisions and you do your tax returns or whatever, which I know you do under self-employment, but just please think very, very, very carefully and do your homework. And don't ever be afraid if somebody is telling you that they achieve a full-time wage from doing what they do and you should join their team as your own business. Do not be afraid to ask to look at their bank accounts for the last 6 months. Because if they're earning a full-time wage and they've escaped benefits, and they should be able to show you that, yes, private information, but the problem is you're told to, part of the marketing of these businesses, no, hang on, I've got somebody to admit, I'm hoping we can do this without the camera. Let me try and make sure the camera's off. If not, I won't be able to share the webinar, but I don't want anybody to be excluded, so... Good, camera's off, you're safe, I can carry on. Okay, please keep the camera off if you just joined because this is being recorded and I will be sharing it publicly. Fantastic. So as I was saying, you need to be very, very careful about what you spend your time and energy doing. The sales tactics, the marketing tactics of these companies is to share that you are living the dream, is to share really good pictures about your freedom lifestyle, your income, how you can spend time with your family, spend time with your children. But everybody that I've met in the last decade has actually secretly been struggling behind the scenes, equally in the same situation of trying to escape benefits or trying to find stable work. So it's something that needs to come to an end. If you buy a franchise is a proven business model, and it's you normally buy a geographic area, so you have the unique customer of that geographic area. But again, with these other companies, it's called MLM, multi-level marketing, there is no geographic cutoff, so it is literally a saturated market, and you could be in a networking meeting or on Facebook in the same group with people selling the same thing. And it's a painful situation to be in. It used to be really good back in the day. I think I loved Body Shop and everything back in the day when it was genuinely earn a bit of money on the side, focus on the day job, focus on the full-time work, earn a little bit of money on the side, have a nice little party, earn some extra income. That's great. It's ethical, it's honest, but it's taken this entire sort of spiral into earn a full-time living off of this, make this your only income, grow a team. It's unethical, it's dishonest. And there are figures out there to prove that. I'll find a link. I think it was Mama, Not Working Mamas. I'll share the link on the, I've already shared a few links on there. I'm active on Twitter with it and on the website. Who was it that did a really good blog on it? They put loads and loads of stats in it. I'll find it and I'll share it. That's absolutely fine. Somebody's just apologized for joining late. Look, we're all parents, life happens, it's fine. It's recorded anyway, so the bit that you've missed, you'll be able to catch up on afterwards. We'll be stopping for a break in about 10-15 minutes. I'll just turn off the camera and the mic for 10 minutes. Then I'll talk till 11:30, and then I will turn off the recording so that you can all come in if you want to with cameras and mics, have a chat, ask questions, and we'll see if we can help off camera then. So going back to that then, so I'll finish off on that now, but I just want to say, if a company can get away with employing somebody to work for free all year round, they're basically saving themselves a minimum of £12,000 on a salary, probably £20,000 on a salary. So of course it makes complete sense for them to spend £2,000 or £3,000 to send you away on a luxury all-inclusive weekend. Aren't they amazing? No, they're not amazing. They're spending £2,000 on you in a year instead of £12,000 to £20,000 that you should be earning on a basic wage at the very least, with holiday pay, sick pay, and all of the benefits that come if you grieve or you fall ill. Okay, so be very careful with that. So setting up and sustaining freelancing and small business. Basically, if you then decide to go into working for yourself, being freelance, being self-employed, one of the things that bothers me actually is there are lots of workshops out there who charge an awful lot of money for you to set up in business and self-employment. If you're anything like me, when you're at this stage where, particularly if you're in receipt of benefits, there is no disposable income, especially not a couple of £100 to pay for a course to set up your own businesses. There are lots of free resources out there that are available. They're really good. You've got your local enterprise partnerships. If you go onto your local council website, they will signpost you to your local enterprise partnership. They're called different things around the country, but they do free workshops, free webinars, and they will offer lots of information and advice. The government website is actually very good. The government website is undersold, but there's all the information on the government website around whether you're setting up as a sole trader or a limited company or your community interest company, whatever you decide to do. All the information is there and it's there for free. But you do need to be dedicated and sit down and read it and absorb it and understand it. And that can be quite difficult. And that's why things like this help. Just to talk things through rather than reading and getting square eyes on the computer. But you've also got Small Business Saturday. Enterprise Nation is extremely good. Enterprise Nation, again, it has a huge resource. Emma founded that about a decade ago, I think. She has lots of information and advice on there for small businesses, for self-employment. In fact, in January, I think there's a huge event, and that's a enterprise. I don't know if it's ticketed. I think it's free entry. I'll need to check. Again, I'll share the link. But Enterprise Nation is a very good resource to go to see all sorts of information about what's out there. Also, grants and funding. There's lots of grants and funding. There's not so many grants out there really for individuals. There are some emergency grants. We had a hardship grant. We were a referral partner for Smallwood Trust, set up by Elizabeth Smallwood in London, 1920, I think. And we were able to distribute or refer people for some grants for £750, going back over the summer, which was extremely helpful. As you know, if you're in receipt of benefits universal credit, £750 is the equivalent of a lottery win if it means you can pay something off and just get by a month even or 2 months without panicking about how you're going to actually pay everything. So they are right there, but again, networking is brilliant. I love networking. I promote networking in a healthy sense in terms of meeting people, having coffee with people, chatting with people, attending meetings, not only for your self-esteem, building confidence to combat isolation and loneliness. There are some networking meetings that are quite expensive. You've got Sterling, you've got 1230, you've got Chamber, there are so many different networking at the Federation of Small Businesses, but they are all good in terms of meeting people, getting to know people. There are some that are really heavy-handed. You have to refer 3 people for one-to-ones each week. That's not good for anybody. But also there are lots of these networking meetings happen outside of school hours, so breakfast meetings or tea time meetings. And again, there are barriers there, and that's why I set up the Single Mums Business Network, because I wanted meetings that were in lunchtime in the week when the children were in childcare. And we don't have any events that exclude them. Our annual awards are for children too, because we don't ever want anybody to worry about childcare. You bring your children and you have a really nice time with them. I digress. So setting up and sustaining freelance and small business. Normally it's okay to set up in self-employment. You have to register as self-employed and do your self-assessment if you've taken in your first year of business £1,000 in profit. Until you actually reach that stage of profit, you don't need to register as self-employed and do a self-assessment. But this is one of the crucial parts of minimum income floor, is what you earn, what you take in your business versus profit. And this is one area that most people fall short. and the DWP don't actually help because they don't explain it properly. They don't give the right signposting and advice for people in business. I've been to meetings, I've accompanied members to meetings, and I've sat there as they've been threatened to have their minimum income floor imposed and their support taken away. And I've sat there and I've asked the coach, well, what exactly have you done to help them? What signposting have you given them? What information and advice have you given them around self-employment and small business? And the answer is absolutely zilch. It's not good enough. So we need to do better. Setting up a sustaining freelance and small business. I'll just quickly cover this before we have a break, and then when we come back, I'll cover the other areas. We've got so much to cover in such a short space of time. It's okay to set up as a sole trader, self-employment. For me personally, the reason I went to a limited company from the very beginning is because I already felt so extremely vulnerable under the universal credit or tax credit benefits umbrella. I felt so incredibly vulnerable, and I felt like any opportunity they would pull you out as a fraudster, even for borrowing £20 off of your mum and not declaring it. So I thought, if at least I've got a limited company and an accountant. Again, I couldn't afford the accountant, so I said to the accountant, look, can I pay you monthly, please, rather than there's no way I can afford your annual bill. So I had to literally break it down to weekly payments and pay that over monthly. And that's the only way I could do it. But it gave me great peace of mind because I knew that somebody was looking at all of my income and expenditure, and that if I was pulled up by the DWP, I could say, look, this is exactly what's been going on financially with the business, and to evidence that I couldn't draw any money out. And again, business income isn't wages, and I cannot get that across enough, because we are led to believe that every penny that comes into our business is money earned and money we have to declare as earnings. You're setting yourself up for failure. The DWP is setting you up for failure if you can't invest money into business to grow business, to reach a point. Anybody in business knows it takes a couple of years to grow a business. We are like real life Cinderellas. Not only have we got to do it in 12 months, you need to grow your business in 12 months to be able to sustain its own expenses. If it's a product-based business, it's even more difficult because you need to purchase products. Because a service-based business is a bit better. But even service-based businesses, you've got overheads. You know, you've got your insurance, you've got your accountant, you've got your website, you've got your memberships to professional organisations if required by whatever it is that you offer. So there are overheads to business, and of course marketing. So whatever your business is, really every single penny that comes in through your business, whether you sell something or whether you sell something to a client, that's business money. It's not your money. Please don't take it out and think it's earnings and then have your universal credit reduced because of that, because it's not your money. You haven't earned it. You've earned it with the business, but it needs to go into the business. That's the only way you're going to break free after 12 months, have enough money coming into the business, enough customers to not only sustain the business overheads, but then to be able to draw a full-time wage. That's a lot for any business owner. I mean, the venture capitalists, you get the youngsters in their suits and they'll borrow $250,000, a venture capitalist, to pay their salary immediately for the first 3 years. We don't have those opportunities. We don't have that safety net. We can't say, oh, somebody give me, $100,000 to pay my salary for 5 years while I grow my business. You're looked at very, very differently when you're a single mum in business or a parent in business. Equally as a single parent, of course. Whereas if you're building a business with your partner, if you're married or cohabiting, you can live on that salary. As a single mum, if the income is benefits, then it's almost like if the benefits was your partner, it would be like if you earned £100, then the tax office would say to your partner, okay, we're going to take £100 out of your wages because your partner has taken £100 into their business. It's like you can't get any higher. So your partner's salary is not affected as you grow income into your business. But if you're on benefits, then it is affected, because as you're growing your business, your benefits are going down. So you're in a much more difficult position to start with. And this is why we need all the help we can get. And that's why hopefully I'll be able to help you even just a little bit today. And there's great responsibility with that. You have to work full-time from the word go. You literally do need to sit at your computer like this every single day. You are working full-time. You are your own boss. You haven't been given £250,000 venture capitalist money to employ somebody in the marketing department, somebody in the accounts department, somebody in the admin department, a cleaner. You haven't got a partner at home taking care of the children over school holidays, after school, before school. So you are everything. You need to make sure the house is clean. You need to make sure you take care of the children. You need to make sure you run the business finances, the business marketing, the business administration, the business legal. You are every single department in that business, and you need to work full time every day. If you've got any childcare at night when they go to sleep, it's a really, really hard slog, but an extremely rewarding one. And again, this is equally what we can achieve through employment. And this is why me and all these amazing agencies I mentioned earlier, 10 to 2, 9 to 3, Capability Jane, that works for me, flexible working, TIMEWISE, investing in women. That's why they're all brilliant, because they're saying, look, we can work full time, we can earn a full-time income, we can be financially independent, we can support the economy rather than needing the economy to support us. We just need you to understand that physically we can't be in 2 places at once, and we need to be able to do that from our computer so that we can put the computer down and see to the children when we need to. So marketing and PR then, looking at setting up your business and marketing and PR, I'm going to take a breather. It's 10:16. I said I'd stop at 10:40, 10:15 to 10:20. If I go on another tangent, we're going to go over. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off the camera and the mic, but the webinar will continue recording. So if you're watching this on record afterwards, you're going to need to just fast forward 10 minutes to continue watching. So the camera and mic will be muted for 10 minutes until 10:25. So 8 minutes. I hope that's enough for everybody to get coffee and loo break if needed. I'll come back at 10:25. We'll do a blast then until 11, and then we can all have a chat if you want to. Okay, so I hope that's been useful so far. Feel free to punch any messages in the chat now during the break. Again, if you address it to me, only I will ever see and ever know. If you address it to everybody, they will know, but none of this will ever be disclosed outside of the meeting today anyway. So have a nice break, and I will see you all in 8 minutes. Hi everybody, so we're back in. Thank you all for staying with me. I'm really pleased to see nobody's dipped out. That's always a nice compliment, which I appreciate. So we're still recording. So just to reiterate what I said before the break, if we could keep the cameras and mics off until I finish the recording at 11 o'clock, and then you're very welcome to hang around and have a chat, ask questions, or leave. It's completely up to you. So I'm going to crack straight on because we obviously have so much still to cover. We've spoken briefly already about specialist flexible working agencies, self-employment traps to avoid, and setting up and sustaining freelance and small businesses, marketing and PR. So we were just kind of touching on that now. So addressing directly. So obviously we've addressed directly if you're looking for flexible working, specialist flexible working agencies and traps to avoid. And the reason I try and encourage people to get off with benefits altogether is because I know it's such a traumatic state of life to be in, when you're constantly threatened with that being taken away from you, and you're stigmatized and judged generally by the general public. So so it's completely understandable that any of us would want to break away from that. And I have to be honest with you, it's the best thing that I ever did. Being able to close the door on the DWP was without a doubt you know, the biggest relief, I think, since entering that whole world without expecting I would need to as a single parent. So marketing and PR. So let's assume then that you're going to go for self-employment. Let's say you've got a skill, because actually you have got a skill. That's without a shadow of a doubt. We have all got skills. This is exactly what nature intended, whether that skill is woodworking or administration or cleaning or accounting or changing the world, being a leader, you know, helping facilitate community groups and things like that. Whatever it is your skill is, arts, crafts, that skill, there is no reason why that skill shouldn't be able to bring you in an income if you frame it properly as a business and make sure that you charge your worth. There's not really any need. In my personal opinion, I see lots of high ticket sales. I always get quite nauseated by them. For me, high ticket sales is often more about making a profit rather than actually delivering what you're good at and helping the end user. Yes, we all want to do well, but it doesn't necessarily need to be that much in order to generate an income that you're comfortable with. So think carefully about your pricing. You need to charge enough, but you don't necessarily need to charge enough to jet around on private jets, or because this is what we've got to be very careful of, is the chain of people that are purchasing your products. You know, is it ethical? Are you doing the right thing by them? Or are you kind of selling them a dream to leave them in hardship? So we need to make sure that we're doing the right thing at all times. So let's assume that you know what your skill is. It can be easy to forget what your skill is. Life kind of batters that out of us as we sort of progress through secondary school. Normally when we're young, we know what we're good at, whether we love animals or whether we love dance, or, you know, we know what we know when we're young what we're really good at, whether we're stage presence. And then we're taught to conform, and we are taught to, when I was in school, certainly at that point I said I wanted to be a lawyer, and my work coach told me to be realistic and go to typing school and be a secretary. So we are very much told what direction we should be going in, and that can destroy us, our spirits, our happiness, our mental health and everything, because we end up then going on this path of nausea. Anyway, so self-employment then, what is it you're good at? What is it you're good at? And putting all of your energy into that and believing in yourself. It's really hard to believe in yourself. This is the part of self-employment. Actually, the practicality of it is quite simple. It's administration. All of it. Yes, you need to do your homework. Yes, we're so lucky we've got Google now. I'm of an age where we only had Yellow Pages and the public phone box. Now having Google is absolutely amazing, because, you know, we can just Google the question. I had no idea about the health and safety requirements around soft furnishings when I designed my key bed, but Google knew, and it was fantastic. I just went onto Google and said, right, what do I need for this? What's British standards for this? What's British standards for that? How do I get it? How do I register my product? How do I protect it, patent, and things like that? So we've got all the resources we need. We just need to trust in ourselves, and we just need to sort of be self-motivated to then ask the question. even if you phrase it, you don't even need to pick up keywords. I mean, it helps, but even if you just say, what's that thing called that you stand behind on a stage, and then, you know, and it's sort of tells you it's a podium. You don't need to know what you're asking. You just need to empty your brain, and Google will help you find the answer. It's absolutely fantastic. So we've got women who set up as virtual assistants. Virtual assistants is, you know, is a very wide sort of scope for it. You've got people helping virtual assistants. You've got the likes of Catherine Gladwin, who wrote a book, How to Be a VA, and one of my other connections, Michelle was signposted through her. I'm so sorry, I'll have to check, but I'll put your link on my website. So there are books and there's literature out there for setting up as a virtual assistant. It could be whether you're a virtual assistant in the paralegal sense, or it could be administration, or it could be some people need virtual assistants just to help them in their home, to help them pay bills, to help them, you know, companies may need administration, or you could be financially, you could call yourself a bookkeeper, but you're virtually assisting. What you're doing is you're using your skill, or you're using your qualification, or you're using your personality to virtually assist somebody who has the available financial resource to pay you, to take that weight off of their shoulders. And this is the one thing as well, it took me a long time to learn in business. There are people out there with that disposable income or with that business budget to be able to pay you to do what it is that they either cannot or do not want to do. All you need to do is be clear about what you're offering. And when you're clear about what you're offering, whether it's a service or a product, then you need to be really dedicated and clear about sharing that offering with the world. So again, we have got the shop windows, but we are more digital now. The internet is our shop. So you need to make sure that, as I said in the last webinar, and I tried to say in any kind of training, if you were to walk down the high street and all of the shop windows were blacked out with no names above the shop, you wouldn't know what was there. Again, back in the day, back in the 80s, we used to walk down the high street. We just used to walk up and down the high street browsing, as we do on the internet now. We'd just browse. But it meant that when we needed something, we knew exactly where to go. We knew where that shop was. We knew where to go to buy what we needed. And if we didn't, we'd look at Yellow Pages. So those shop windows, it makes sense when you have a shop to A, have a display window so that people can get an idea of what's inside, and B, to have your name above the door so people can hopefully get an idea from the name what it is that shop is offering. It would be ridiculous to walk down the high street and not have that. But this is what so many people do on the internet, in the digital world. It's like you're sat behind your shop, you're sat inside your shop, you've got this amazing thing that you do, this amazing thing that you share, you know it's worth the money you're charging, but you're sitting inside your shop with the door closed, blacked out windows and no name above the door, and expecting people to come in and buy your stuff from you. You know, it's I hope I'm not being rude, but this is literally what's happening digitally. So you need to tell people that you're there, is what I'm saying. And it's so easy to set up a website or set up a Facebook page. Facebook page is the best place to start because it's free. It's really good to set up a website as soon as you can afford it. And when I say afford it, I mean prioritizing it over any other expense. If you're partial to a topple of wine, then it's highly likely that if you got rid of the wine on a Friday night, you could actually pay for a website. For that monthly wine fee could go to a monthly website fee. So normally it's doable, but I appreciate it's not always doable actually, because even when I'd cut back, even when I'd cancelled Sky, Netflix, absolutely everything, there just wasn't £5 per week left over. Something always had to go. And there was irresponsible finance as a result, and sharks. So I do realise that even that can be difficult, but we've got the free platforms. We've got Facebook to start with, but you need to be exactly clear on who you are and what you're offering. This then in your minimum income floor period. So this kind of covers 3 areas. We've got the mindset, the marketing and PR, the minimum income floor and benefits, being your own boss, and autonomous working. So I'm going to kind of cover all of this in one big wind now for 10 minutes. Let's say you are really clear about what you're doing. You're really clear about your business, your product or your service. you go to the DWP and say, okay, this is what I'm going to do, this is how I'm going to try, and this is how I plan. Again, we need to take out the try. This is how I plan. This is how I plan to, sorry, as the chat, I said at the very beginning of the webinar, I'm terrible when chat comes in during the webinar, but I'll try to just regain. When you are clear about who you are and what you're doing and how you want to earn an income, you then sit down in the DWP and you are found to be gainfully self-employed. If they agree that it's viable what you're proposing and it's okay, you're gainfully self-employed, therefore you have a period of 12 months before the minimum income floor kicks in. That minimum income floor, like I explained earlier, is the equivalent of the minimum wage, at least, at the minimum hours that you are required to work. So dependent on the age of your child, that could be 16 hours, 25 hours, 35 hours. So in a 12-month period, to cover the overheads of your business and then to draw out that full-time wage that you are required to at the various stages of your life and your care and responsibilities, you really need to go, you get on the ground running. You need to be like Roadrunner from the very beginning, because it's a short space of time. There is some discretion at the end of the minimum income floor. Again, from what I gather, some people aren't given this discretion. Some people aren't given an extension, even though they are proceeding really well through business. And it's so short-sighted and it's so incredibly wrong, because if somebody is building their business, which again, most people know takes normally a couple of years, if somebody is well on the way to building their business at the end of 12 months, you should really give them more support and more time to do that. Because if you don't, and you tell them then to go and take that part-time job on that low wage, you are basically sentencing them to another decade of needing benefits to top up their income. Whereas if you give them the full support and the full encouragement and the full trust to keep building their business for another 6 months or a year, you're helping them, as I did, get off of benefits altogether and not need any. Okay, and support the economy through tax payments rather than needing to draw tax back out. So it's very short-sighted, this minimum income floor, and it's something I keep trying to raise awareness of. Anyway, at the moment, as it stands, even though they're very clever with the public purse and the economy, they're not acting very clever with the public purse and the economy. So it makes complete economic sense to help somebody get off benefits altogether. But at the moment, we've still got this minimum income floor imposed after 12 months. So in that 12-month period, you need to, make sure your shop window is clear for everybody to see. So you need your name above your window, and you need to sit there behind your computer, or if you get a shop front, obviously in shop, but most things are digital. And of course, you've got I will look at the upfront expenses of physical premises in a minute, actually. Because that is important if you're looking at a physical premise for your business. But if you are working digitally from home, then you have to, rather than think about income, really for the first 3 to 6 months, you need to be raising awareness of your business. If you can cut corners anywhere financially and spend money on going to a networking meeting, it really is worth it, because building your network, you've got people who know who you are and what you do. Word of mouth is extremely powerful. People like to buy from people. It really does help. Not only that, normally, if you're a single parent in business, normally you're pretty trapped in terms of your social life and your company, and it can be really isolating and really lonely. So getting out there and having conversations, having a coffee, feeling like a grown-up, putting some makeup on, feeling smart, being able to share what you do in an intelligent way, it really helps to build your confidence. And even if your business doesn't succeed, you really need to keep your mental health and your confidence strong, so that you're more confident then when re-entering the workplace, when attending interviews, when saying, look, this is what I've been doing. Because all the while you're working on business, you are enhancing your skills, whether that's social media skills, whether that's learning about bookkeeping, tax, legislation, website development, anything that you're doing in your own business. These are all transferable skills into the workplace. And the more you network, the more you build your confidence, and the more you kind of are able to remove yourself of the traumas as we come through teenagehood into womanhood. we will normally have negative experiences with other women. And actually, it's really nice when you re-enter a world, when you realise that women can be your allies and not your enemy. Believe you me, it's beautiful when you realise that people genuinely want to help you, and that there's no backstabbing or trying to get that promotion first. You're surrounded by women who really want to do well, and men too. It's really healthy to get to a networking meeting if you can. And again, that networking meeting, it's not about going and selling your product. You shouldn't go with the expectation of coming away with a sale or money. It's about building relationships and raising awareness of what you do. You are your own shop window. Instead of people walking past your shop, you are your shop walking past people and saying, look, this is my shop, this is what I do, this is my product or service. And practice saying that. It's amazing how difficult it is to even learn in the beginning, this is me, this is what I do. So you do need to practice that and say, for me, in the beginning, it was the key beds. This is what I do. I've designed a pregnancy cushion that enables ladies to lay prone, which is on their belly, in a second and third trimester of their pregnancy. This product is sold to massage therapists, chiropractors, and osteopaths worldwide. It's award-winning. It complies with all British standards, health and safety. It took me about 2 years to even be able to spit that out in a 60-second pitch. Now with a Single Mums Business Network, it's a network for single mums in business, but also for single mums trying to navigate the world of work and well-being. So we help women with enterprise, work and well-being. Again, it's just punching that out and making it really clear what you do. You need to have that ready, whether you're in a bar, whether you go to a family or friends for lunch, everywhere you go and everybody you speak to and every engagement you have on social media, you just need to really be able to really succinctly, I can't even say it, punch out what it is you do and who it is you help and how you help them. So you need to practice that. And then spending 16, 25, 35 hours a week sitting at your computer saying, this is me, this is what I do. You say it on LinkedIn, you say it on Facebook, you say it on Instagram, you say it on Twitter, you say it on Google My Business. Helen just mentioned that as well. Yes, it's worth setting up Google My Business. It's brilliant. Again, it's another free platform. And you can just, again, going back to, whereas we used to look at the yellow pages, people now will look at Google. It's really important to talk to Google. This is a communication tool. Google is reading what's there all the time. So setting up Google My Business or blogging or SEOing, search engine optimization, using keywords in your blogs. Blogging is really powerful. Essentially, Google is that little person walking past the shop and they say, oh, that's there. This is what you're doing by using keywords in your business or setting up blogs or websites or anything else. Originally, I set up a really cheap website. I think I used one of the platforms that was about £8 a month. Later on, I moved to WordPress because I do find WordPress is much better at talking to Google, but it is more expensive. So it is progressive. But you can always start with something and sharing that. Then this is the crucial part with the minimum income floor. If you're a massage therapist, if you are a paralegal, if you are a bookkeeper, if you are a cleaner, if you are washing cars, carpenter, whatever it is you're doing, please, please, please understand that if you've managed to get a client and you've taken £100, it's so easy then to say that you've earned £100. And this is almost what you're made to believe you need to do. And again, it's like what I said in the very beginning, it's about asking somebody to coach rugby who's never played rugby or watched rugby. Work coaches are employed, but they don't necessarily have the understanding or the experience of enterprise. And having that, the money, the legal entity of the money being the business money or your money. Money into the business is not your earnings. When you get money into your business, especially if you're cramped into this 1 year to make it work, that money's got to be spent on business. You need to spend it either on PR or marketing or your licensing. Again, if you look on the DWP website, the government website, there is a really good explanation of what you can spend money on in business. There's some mileage covered if you're not working from home, if you're going to meetings, your networking expenses. Again, it's a business expense. you know, it might feel like you're having coffee, but it's really important. You are your shop window. You're your walking, talking shop window. That is an expense. You can't say that you've earned £100 to then have that money or 55 pence of it taken off of your universal credit, for you then to have to find out of what's the peanuts that are left over to spend that money on going to networking. That's what your business money is for. Your business money is to pay for your website. Your business money is to pay for a Facebook campaign, to target people, to target your audience, to tell them what you do. Only after you've covered all of your business expenses can you actually draw money out of your business and say you've earned some money. So please don't fall into that trap. When I first set up the Keybed, I really didn't understand this, and nobody told me this. And I thought, how can I say I'm a woman in business when I'm not earning any money? I actually pretended to earn money so that I could justify saying that I'm self-employed, because I thought they would pull the rug from underneath my feet if I said, well, I haven't earned any money this month. It's quite common not to earn any money this month. But I didn't know that at the time, and I was too embarrassed to say that. So what I did is I pretended I earned money. So I didn't earn a single penny, but still everything that I was entitled to reduced, and my council tax was increased as a consequence. It's just sheer hell. You need the right support and advice in the beginning. It's not support and advice to cheat the system at all. It's support and advice to help you succeed so that you can get away from needing any support at all, and to achieve financial autonomy and to pay tax in instead of needing to draw tax out eventually, certainly quicker than you will if you fall into all of these traps that are so readily laid to catch you out when you're trying to make work. So going up back then, even if you're self-employed, so what I did when I completed the law degree and I found the barriers to work for solicitors, I ran a Facebook campaign. I spent £5. It was £5 more than I had, but it was £5 well spent. I ran a Facebook campaign. Again, you have to swallow your pride and your dignity, and it's humiliating. And this is why the book is called 21st Century Peasant as well, because you always feel like everybody can see, you know, how badly you're struggling, and you're constantly begging for work, or you're begging for help, or you're begging for this or that, or a home or finance. And that's why I refer to the sort of 21st century peasantry side of it. But so when I qualified, when I gained the law degree and I wanted to work in law, I ran a Facebook campaign. I spent £5 on that campaign, and I targeted solicitors or people who had an interest in law or lawyers within a 1 hour radius of where I lived. So you can target in on Facebook like that. You what their interests are and where they are based. So if you're looking for a job in a particular area, you swallow your pride. So I ran that campaign and I said, look, I cannot get employment, but I need, you know, I've got this law degree. I want to work in law for somebody in school hours. And this is when I was contacted by somebody and they said, you can work for me as a freelance paralegal lawyer. And I did that for 2 years for this person. So it was absolutely really well spent £5 to say, this is me, this is what I do, and this is what I need, and targeting the people who I felt. I had to take my mind away from the fact that 99% of people who saw that post may laugh at it or judge me or know me. I had to get rid of that humiliation and that embarrassment and that pride just to be able to reach that one person who might be able to help, and they did. And I benefited from freelance paralegal lawyer work in civil litigation for 2 years on the back of that one campaign. So social media is a really powerful tool. It's a free tool, but there are ways to pay as well to increase your reach once you can find £5 here, £10 there. And again, I will try and elaborate more on this in the book. I try to help my members if they ask questions, but obviously I can't just spill all this stuff out in every single meeting because it's so much to put out. I rely on people telling me when they're stuck so that I can then say to them, okay, this is what you need to do in that situation. Wellbeing in mind, we've got 10 minutes left before I stop the recording and open up the chat. So again, I'm going to try and fire through this. Feel free, if there's anything you want me to touch on in the recording, feel free to punch the questions into chat. I'll try and do both at the same time. but otherwise we'll chat afterwards. So consider university as an option as well, is one thing I would say. Again, the Open University is who I did my law degree with. That was brilliant because I was able to do it through alongside caring for Kaylin. I was working part-time as well. But when I say I was working part-time, whilst I wanted to work 30 hours a week, because of these barriers, I was actually working, I think it was 10 or 12 hours a week. It's all I could get. And it was really low pay. It was £6 an hour, which was the minimum wage at the time. So I had to have benefits on top. So I was doing the only bookkeeping part-time job I could get for a stupidly low wage, half of what I was earning before. And then studying on top. So with the Open University is a good one because of physically not being able, having to be present apart from exams. Obviously, you need to be adjudicated to make sure that you have learnt stuff and you're doing it properly. But that gives you a breathing space. If you're not confident with your skills and your abilities, then this is an opportunity to get a qualification or a skill if you don't feel like you've got what you need to cut the crust on your own quite yet. And there's so many courses. If you have a look at their website and just it inspires you, and it can give you a hunger of all the different things you could do and all the different things you could qualify in. And if you're in universal credit or on benefits, normally you will be able to get the course for free. It's only, I think, if you get I need to check my facts on this, but if you get a student loan on top of that to help cover the cost of living and things, that's when your benefits could be affected if you're getting income from two sources. But actually the course itself, if you're not claiming any support on top of that to help towards the cost of living, you should still be able to get the full support of benefits whilst you're completing that degree or that course, that short course. And my belief is that if you're studying part-time, full-time, studying full-time, part-time, you're still classed as studying full-time. But again, all the information and advice is on the Open University website and other websites like that, and on the government website too. And you can speak to your work coach about it. They might know about it, but again, don't blame them if they don't, because sometimes they just don't. Sometimes they are employed, but they just don't have the relevant knowledge or experience, and the DWP have not so far pulled their finger out in terms of ensuring that all of this information and advice is available and that the coaches are well informed. Some of them are, most of them in my experience aren't. Like I said, I have accompanied members to meetings, and so far it's been pretty negative feedback all round in terms of what they've been able to share. In terms of business support and advice, educational support and advice, and properly signposting to specialist flexible working agencies. And I obviously am hoping that the DWP watch this webinar at some point and it helps them to help us. I've got a question here. I'm a home educating lone parent. I'd be really keen to know if there are others like me. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Again, I'm not saying your name because while it's recorded, I'm not disclosing who's here or what people are saying. Home educating, I'm not actually sure there whether you mean you educate others from home or whether you are studying from home. I think you mean you're on a course, and I think there are. Oh, I see. Sorry. Yes, home educated. My bad. Yeah. Well, there are. Stacey Dooley was one. Was it Stacey Dooley? Is that her name? I tried to reach out to her a few times, but again, so this is the thing. No, it's me. I can be really daft sometimes. It's not you. Again, even when I set up the Single Mums Business Network, oh, there we are. See, you've already found each other in the group. This is wonderful. So in the chat, we've got 2 people who are home educating their children who have just connected, which is absolutely brilliant. Obviously, for data protection, I won't be sharing your details with each other after the meeting, but by all means, share each other's emails now, connect properly. But we've got time to come in with our cameras and chat generally afterwards anyway, in 5 minutes. So maybe you two could say hi properly in person then if you're happy to put cameras on. So before I stop the recording, so considering education is worth looking at, taking responsibility when you decide to go into self-employment or business, it is a huge responsibility. You are having to work 24/7 at making sure that everybody out there knows your business exists and knows you exist, knows what you do. preferably knows how much you cost as well. You know, we need to be a bit more transparent with our pricing. There's no point in hiding the pricing to lock people in. I don't see the point in that. I see why people do it, call to actions and things like that. But in my experience, normally that's because they know the end click to action is actually quite unaffordable. I prefer to be completely transparent from the beginning, and then you actually get people, you don't get time wasters, you get people who come in because I say time wasters, you're not a time waster if you can't afford the end result, but it's much easier to be transparent so that the people who come to you can stay with you and they know they're in the right place. Otherwise, they can go and look elsewhere. Barriers to homes finance and where to find support. We've got 5 minutes quickly. There are barriers to homes. I was an estate agent. One of my jobs in the 20-year period before becoming a single mother. Yes, there are discrimination laws, but no, these laws are not always adhered to behind the scenes. If a landlord says they don't want a single parent on benefits, the estate agent, I had to move several times as a single parent. Most of the single parents I've met have also had to move several times. There are barriers to mortgages, there are barriers to long-term stable rentals, affordable rentals, because normally they can take their pick, and normally it will be the 2.4, you know, no benefits. There's a lot of stigma and there's a lot of discrimination that still exists. There is no capping on private rent. It's a huge issue. Even last week, Jeremy Corbyn asked our current Chancellor, oh my God, my brain, Jeremy Hunt. So even Jeremy Corbyn asked Jeremy Hunt last week in Parliament, have you got any intention to legislate or sort of manage these private rental prices? No, again, I've heard this said before. And again, the fact that it's reiterated only last week in a cost of living crisis breaks my heart, because the reason they're not interested in legislating it is because they think it will put people off investing in buy-to-let properties. They think it will put landlords off. Of course, it should put landlords off if they're going to charge an absolute fortune in private rent. Look, if you buy a property and it's being paid for you, if your entire mortgage on that property is being paid, so you're essentially getting a estate for free, and the only thing you need to worry about is maintenance. I was a landlord once, I was one of them. Then, you know, I think penalising, and again, it's a really common misconception. People think that benefits pay rent. Anybody who's been in receipt of benefits and has to pay rent knows, especially in the private rental sector, benefits normally barely even cover half the rent. More often than not, they don't cover a third, because there is a local housing allowance, and that is capped, and it's capped at whatever that is, 300, 400, 500, 600, depending on the area that you live in. And the private rent is more often than not double that. This then, so whereas you may be told that you need, I used to do income expenditure for my debts, and I put that I was spending £30 a week on food and cleaning products and basically everything cost of living. And they said to me, sorry, we can't accept that. The government, you have to have £60 per week or something for food. I said, well, I don't have £60 per week for food. And they said, well, we have to put £60 per week for food because you should have £60 per week for food. So that always left me in negative income in terms of income expenditure. I had kinds of court judgments, debts and everything else. I'm not ashamed of that. It was the sharks that absolutely preyed on my vulnerability and would offer me a £200 payday loan at 1,400 APR, laughing all the way to the bank, whilst I was absolutely desperately trying to find the money to make up the rent shortfall. So we have the cap on a housing benefit. We have private rents that are completely out of control. Again, as an estate agent, I know that we could just put it up as much as we wanted. There are some limits within a contract, but when inside of contracts, you can put a property on the market for whatever you think you can get away with renting it for. The same goes for selling. You know, I thought it was more complex pricing sell properties. It's actually not. It's based on what's been achieved in the sale market, and then you just basically charge more on top of that, and you just get what you think you can achieve. It's criminal. I was part of that. I'm trying to do my time now and make up for it. We've got 1 minute till we close. So shelter are brilliant. So when we have these barriers to homes, and we're not only constantly living in fear under the DWP umbrella, Also with the homes, with moving, Shelter are the best support resource out there for anything to do with your rights, your rental rights. Even if you're given an eviction notice after you've complained about a problem in your home, you're protected. You know, a Section 21 can be revoked if it seems to be a revenge eviction. There are lots and lots of things that you can look at Shelter. There's local councils that have got discretionary pots of money they don't tell you about, and they don't always award it, even if you need it. But there is lots of money there that's supposed to be to help you if you have a rent shortfall, etc., etc. Again, sadly, it's discretionary, and sadly, I don't understand why it's not always paid out. But there is money there. Shelter is the best for housing barriers. Finance barriers, are going to quickly jam this out. Responsible finance. If you look at the responsible finance website, normally once you fall into this pit of adversity, if your credit score is affected, the banks start charging you for hardship rather than giving you an overdraft or helping you with some money to get back on your feet or invest in business. There are responsible finance providers out there. Purple Shoots are the ones who helped me. Fredericks Foundation also helped me back in the day. Responsible finance, Purple Shoots, again, they're not looking at your credit score, they're looking at you as a person, they're looking at your work ethic, they're looking at your skills, and they're looking at the outcome rather than the backstory. So there are organisations out there who will help you financially. There are organisations out there who will help you if you're facing stress with landlords, eviction. Turn to us. You've got the benefits. StepChange. Are they still called StepChange, or did they change? They either went from StepChange to another name, or they went from the name StepChange. But even so, if you Google StepChange, it will send you to the right organisation, because there are organisations out there who claim to help you with debt consolidation or dealing with creditors. And they will charge a fee. So it's really important to go to the right ones who don't charge you. And again, the government website, I think, signposts to the correct organisations for that. But again, you can't be harassed. You can't, if you're suffering phone calls, bailiff visits, all of these things, you can put a stop to the phone calls. Your mental well-being is so important at a time in your life where you are so vulnerable, where you're getting eggs thrown at you from every angle, whether it's your home or your income or your work or your finance. You know, I describe it as feeling like I'm curled up in a ball on the floor, and you've got the landlord and the DWP and everybody in the bank with steel-capped shoes on, and they're just booting you as you're on the ground, bleeding internally, crying. And actually, all of this could be so easily resolved with the correct flexible working. It's not rocket science. It's very easy to take a community of circa 3 million and help them to be contributors rather than needing contributions. It's really not that difficult. And the problem is because I know that I've had this conversation directly with Rishi Sunak, and it's in the magazine, I've now lost trust in them. So I'm going to do my best to help you navigate that process outside relying on the government to do it, to take responsibility and to do that. I don't trust them to cap private rents. I don't trust them to enforce flexible working. I don't trust them to ensure that the work coaches are adequately informed to help you. So I then taken it upon myself with my own experience to help you the best I can with all the knowledge that I have, in the hope that it is less difficult for you than it was for me. There is light at the end of the tunnel. I have a beautiful home, I have beautiful work, I have employment and self-employment, the SMBN. It's a lovely, lovely place to get to, and if I can help you get there sooner than I did, then that's what I will do. So if you're watching this webinar afterwards, I hope you are watching if you are part of a government organisation and you can actually take action to help these people and to make these changes. Or if you're a single parent or a parent who faces barriers to work, I hope this has helped you in some way. I'm going to stop the recording, but I'm going to stay here. So those of you who are in the meeting, Once I've stopped recording, please feel free to come on in and have a chat. Okay, thank you all for watching. Google Single Mums Business Network and join us if you can. Thank you.